John Naish, Enough, Breaking Free from the World of Excess. In today's world of excess and materialism, Enough, Breaking Free from the World of Excess by John Naish delves into the evolutionary history that has led humans to have an insatiable desire for material and non-material goods. The book's summary illustrates how this desire turned problematic in the modern world, with advertisers exploiting our ancient instincts for their benefits. From information overload to unhealthy consumption habits, workaholism, and the quest for happiness, the summary explores the problems of excess and offers insights on embracing the concept of enough for a more sustainable, fulfilling life.
Evolutionary roots of consumption. The modern-day abundance of consumer goods can be traced back to our evolutionary past. Human beings, as a species, had to be curious about new things in order to survive and develop. Our ancestors faced the scarcity of resources, especially food, and our bodies evolved to accommodate by consuming and storing as much as possible when available. This led to the development of collecting and hoarding behaviors, as acquiring large amounts of resources helped us navigate times of scarcity. Alongside material goods, humans have a penchant for gathering non-material goods like information, as our survival depended on constant awareness of our surroundings. Our brains even release feel-good chemicals called opioids when we intake new information, reinforcing this behavior. However, our ancient mechanisms have been exploited by advertisers in the modern era, encouraging excessive consumption that goes far beyond our needs. Advertisers manipulate our ingrained fears of scarcity by creating limited edition products, tempting us to buy now or risk missing out on a unique opportunity. They also exploit our innate admiration of society's most successful individuals, drawing parallels between the use of certain products and achieving similar success to enticing celebrity role models. Ultimately, the very mechanisms that once helped humans survive are now causing issues in our modern world. Delving deeper into this evolutionary disconnect exposes the roots of our excessive consumption and the role our ancestry has in shaping our present behaviors. Taming information overload. In today's digital age, we are bombarded with an overwhelming amount of information that can lead to serious health problems, such as information fatigue syndrome, ADHD, depression, and obesity. Our constant pursuit of information even has the potential to turn into an addiction, replacing real-life interactions with virtual ones. Taking a break from the virtual world by enacting a data diet can help you avoid the negative effects of information overload and ultimately increase productivity. In an era of instant access to information, we often find ourselves drowning in a sea of spam emails, news updates, and notifications. It doesn't help that we dedicate most of our lives to screens, such as computers, televisions, and smartphones. This constant exposure to digital stimuli not only diminishes our quality of life but also has severe ramifications on our mental and physical health. British neuroscientist Dr. David Lewis identified information overload as a serious issue when he discovered information fatigue syndrome in 1996. This condition is characterized by exhaustion, insomnia, poor decision-making, and even a temporary decrease in IQ. Moreover, the overconsumption of digital content has been linked to ADHD, depression, and obesity in children. Our insatiable appetite for new information can easily devolve into an addiction. Take for instance how the convenience of emailing someone pales in comparison to the effort of a face-to-face conversation, or how video games and sitcoms have replaced outdoor activities and spending time with loved ones. The reliance on virtual interactions can leave individuals feeling lost and deprived without access to the internet. The solution to escaping this modern trap lies in something called a data diet. By intentionally taking a break from the virtual world, you can regain balance in your life and protect your mental well-being. Adopting a data diet can provide your brain with much-needed downtime, leading to improved problem-solving skills and increased productivity. Even visionaries like Bill Gates acknowledge the benefits of a data diet, so why not give it a try and reclaim control over your life in the face of information overload? Feast and famine, our paradoxical eating habits. The all-you-can-eat buffet perfectly encapsulates society's prevailing attitude towards food consumption: amass as much as possible for the least amount of money. Historically, this approach was critical for survival when food scarcity was rampant. However, our innate preference for high-energy, fatty foods now poses serious health risks in a world where food is both affordable and readily available. Consequently, obesity plagues developed societies, with 1/4 of the population affected in Europe, Australia, and North America. Our eating habits, guided by visual cues rather than physical sensations of hunger, contribute to excessive intake. Yet, a simple solution to counter this issue is to use smaller plates, making portions appear larger and fooling ourselves into feeling satiated with smaller servings. Our hardwired hoarding habit. It's no surprise that humans have a deep-rooted instinct to collect and hoard. This behavior stems from our genetic predisposition to consume as much as possible, as evidenced by the millions of hand axes unearthed in Neolithic caves, which served as both tools and status symbols for our ancestors. Our brain rewards us with a dopamine-induced excitement when we're on the hunt for something, whatever it may be. This phenomenon plays a major role in why we're constantly seeking material possessions even beyond our needs, as we often associate these acquisitions with self-improvement. Unfortunately, this way of thinking often leads to disappointment when our expectations aren't met, prompting us to strive for even more material things, ultimately resulting in cluttered homes and increasing waste. Workaholism, is it worth it? A growing number of people in Europe and the US embrace workaholism and use it to define their worth. Contrary to popular belief, excessive hard work does not equate to virtue, it may actually harm our health. For instance, working over 41 hours weekly puts one at risk of high blood pressure. Programs like Workaholics Anonymous have gained traction in countries like Britain, addressing workaholics and their compulsions to overwork. Unlike other addictions, overworking cannot simply be stopped, as income and societal expectations dictate that we must stay busy. Ironically, overworking stems from the misguided belief that more work leads to happiness and fulfillment. However, promotions or increased career success do not necessarily translate to increased happiness, as one's satisfaction from work is hardly influenced by position. Additionally, even the richest individuals experience only marginally higher happiness levels compared to the average person. Overwhelming choices paralyze us. Overabundance of similar alternatives can make decision-making exhausting and lead to negative consequences in our behavior. A hungry donkey thought experiment illustrates how too many choices result in indecision and missed opportunities. Our modern world presents us with a barrage of options, but truly distinct choices are rare. This leads to frequent changes in jobs, dwellings, and relationships, reflecting a lack of long-term commitment in the pursuit of the best possible alternatives. The hungry donkey thought experiment, introduced by the 14th-century French philosopher, Jean Buridan, demonstrates how having too many options can be daunting and lead to indecision. Imagine a hungry donkey standing between two identical piles of hay, uncertain of which to choose, and eventually starving as a result. This scenario encapsulates the intricate relationship between free choice and the confusing burden it can impose when alternatives are too similar. An overabundance of choices not only weighs on our decision-making process, making it more difficult but also ultimately exhausts us. Each decision we make reminds us of the missed potential of other appealing choices. In today's world, where numerous products and services boast marginal differences and extra features, this choice overload becomes even more glaring. For example, selecting a camera with a vast range of similar features becomes a grueling task, whereas deciding between distinct vacation destinations can be relatively easy and enjoyable. Unfortunately, the reality of modern life presents us with countless similar options to choose from, leading to serious consequences for our behavior. This state of constant comparison has diminished the value of long-term commitments. People frequently change jobs, apartments, and even romantic relationships in pursuit of better alternatives. The decline of the traditional wedding vow, "till death do us part," in favor of "as long as our marriage shall serve the common good," highlights this shift in priorities and commitment culture. The unattainable happiness myth. The pursuit of constant happiness is not only unachievable but also unrealistic. It's crucial to embrace a healthy balance of emotions, including sadness and worry, as they are essential aspects of the human experience. While happiness levels are influenced by genetics and early life experiences, we should recognize that our lifelong happiness threshold remains fairly constant. So, let's accept the natural ebbs and flows of life and use unhappiness as an opportunity to reflect and grow. The surge in books on finding personal fulfillment reflects our societal obsession with pursuing ever-present happiness. However, it's vital to acknowledge that perpetual happiness is unrealistic, and emotions such as worry, sadness, and even a touch of depressive realism contribute to a well-rounded life. History indicates that cautious individuals, who worry moderately, tend to live longer by taking fewer risks. Contrary to popular belief, unhappiness isn't a failure but a natural warning system alerting us when things are amiss. Instead of resorting to medications, use moments of dissatisfaction to thoughtfully assess your life and make necessary changes. Our attempts to control happiness are often futile, as our levels of happiness are primarily influenced by genetics. Every person is born with a unique happiness threshold, which remains relatively constant throughout life, categorizing us as optimists or pessimists. While childhood experiences play a moderate role, our personalities, habits, and attitudes generally stabilize beyond the age of 25. Surprisingly, even significant events don't drastically affect our happiness levels in the long run. Studies reveal that lottery winners and those who experience life-altering accidents share similar happiness levels a year after their incidents compared to their pre-event state. In conclusion, the expectation of continuous happiness and fulfillment is a false notion. Instead, we should appreciate the various emotions in our lives and leverage periods of unhappiness as prompts for personal growth and self-reflection. Rethinking infinite economic growth. For decades, the conventional wisdom has been that the solution to the world's problems lies in constant economic growth. Yet, this mindset has been proven false, as the Earth's resources are finite and unsustainable population growth coupled with resource consumption places our ecosystems at risk. Moreover, our global economy is built upon this unsustainable growth ideology. To initiate change, we need to inspire shifts in social norms and behavior, acknowledging the reality of limited resources and developing sustainable practices that protect our planet. The renowned economist John Maynard introduced the idea in the early 20th century that economic growth would end starvation and meet everyone's basic needs. This notion became deeply ingrained in the policies of political leaders since the 1940s. However, in 1970, the Club of Rome's influential publication revealed how the Earth's ecosystem could not keep pace with our rapidly growing population and the resulting demand for resources. The uncomfortable truth is that infinite economic growth is impossible due to Earth's limited resources, which necessitates a shift in mindset toward sustainable resource management. Implementing such changes is an immense challenge for several reasons. First, our entire global economic system is built upon the ideology of constant growth. If consumption were reduced, the economy might collapse. In spite of the environmental consequences, businesses still devote substantial resources to encourage increased consumption. Secondly, implementing meaningful change requires massive alterations in behavior to transform social norms. Consider the example of the stock market, where stock prices rise and demand increases, contradicting the standard economic principle of buying low. This deviation occurs because people assume the majority's actions must be correct, a concept known as herd behavior. Unless the majority's attitude towards consumption evolves, it is unlikely there will be significant progress in altering harmful practices. It is vital that we recognize the dangers of chasing perpetual economic growth and enact strategies for sustainable living and resource use. Our future depends on it. Endless non-material wealth. The idea that more is better is hazardous when it comes to material possessions, but shouldn't be applied to non-material delights in life. Gratitude and generosity, for example, are virtues that uplift our lives. Findings reveal that acknowledging our blessings boosts optimism, energy, and heart health. Similarly, donating money sparks the same joy as gaining wealth or enjoying social connections. Speaking of which, connectedness is a major happiness factor, as those who socialize more tend to be happier. Solid relationships, with friends or a higher power, contribute to satisfaction and longevity. To appreciate these non-material jewels, we must stay present-focused instead of dwelling on past or future. The ladder of life study showed that people constantly overestimate past hardships and future improvements. While we hold high hopes for the future, reality often falls short of our expectations. Therefore, recognizing and embracing the present's non-material treasures might be the key to happiness. Embracing a culture of enoughness. To overcome the consequences of our excessive lifestyles, we must challenge the assumptions that perpetuate it, such as the belief in continuous economic growth and our materialist paradigm. We need to embrace the concept of enoughness, realizing that good is often good enough, and abandon the pursuit of perfection. Change begins with individuals leading by example and inspiring others to adopt this mindset. It's crucial to rethink our lifestyles and adapt our behavior in alignment with the idea of enoughness. Our contemporary lifestyle is marked by excess, which has detrimental effects on humanity and the planet. To address this issue, we first need to question the beliefs that drive this culture of excess. For instance, the unquestioned pursuit of continuous economic growth under capitalism has failed to bring prosperity for all while increasing inequality. Perhaps it's time to consider new ways of organizing society and the economy. Similarly, we should be open to discussing topics such as population control and explore ways to manage our growing numbers responsibly. Additionally, it's important to challenge the materialistic paradigm ingrained in us from a young age, which emphasizes material possessions over spiritual or intellectual growth. Reassessing these assumptions paves the way for embracing the concept of enoughness. Rather than continuously striving for more information, stuff, and happiness, we must learn to cherish what we already have and recognize that good is often sufficient. Pursuing perfection in every aspect of life is unrealistic and counterproductive. It's important to accept that satisfaction can be found in moderation and balance. This transformation can't be forced upon us, it must begin at an individual level. By embracing the idea of enoughness, we can lead by example and inspire others to adopt similar principles. Small changes in our habits, reflections on personal choices, and a mindful approach towards life can significantly impact our well-being. Though it may be challenging, rethinking our lifestyle and aligning our behavior with the concept of enoughness is essential for a sustainable and fulfilling future.
In conclusion, Enough, Breaking Free from the World of Excess provides a comprehensive look at the issues stemming from our innate desires for more, and the consequences it brings to our well-being and the environment. As we move forward, it is essential to challenge the assumptions underpinning our current culture of excess and find new ways of organizing society, economy, and personal lifestyle choices. By recognizing the importance of gratitude, generosity, connectedness, and embracing the idea of enough, we can create a more sustainable, fulfilling life while also setting an example for others to follow. Only by acknowledging the concept of enoughness and consciously making changes in our behavior can we transform our lives and the world for the better.